Hi, I'm Andrew Berry and welcome to At the Benches YouTube channel. Whenever you buy silver, gold wire from your bullion dealers, they invariably always wrap it round something to make it small, or it may come already rolled around into a coil shape. And perhaps you want that piece of metal nice and perfectly die straight. Now, I'm going to show you what to do, but what I'm doing here at the moment, I'm just annealing this little bit of silver wire that I've got on here. I've wound this around my mandrel. It's nice and tight. I'm going to heat this up and I'm going to anneal it. And it is important that your wire, when you do this technique, is nicely and evenly annealed all the way through. You can see how this is not annealed, it's slightly springy. We warm it up, we push it down, the metal relaxes. That is now nicely annealed. Turn it over, make sure the wire is gorgeously, evenly annealed all the way along it, around in the coils and everywhere. Turn it over a few times, making sure that's it nicely annealed. Leave it as it is or put it into your safety pickle. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to do that. And when your metal usually comes from your bullion dealer, it is normally soft. It means that it is fully annealed. So you won't necessarily need to do what I have just done here. I've used this a few times and I've cut a bit off, and it's just a bit of an offcut. But I want to show you what we can do to ensure this wire gets perfectly straight. One way is to get a little bit of a steel block. Open the wire up and start to tap it upon the steel block. If you tap it with a nice smooth face goldsmith's hammer, just something like this with a nice shiny face, you'll find that you can get quite a nice straight piece of wire with no problem at all. It may take a little bit of time, there may be some slight dents in it, so perhaps you'd be better off using a rawhide mallet like this one here and tap it. But you're never going to get the wire perfectly straight. There'll always be some slight variation, some deviation, perhaps a slight dent in it. You can buff it, you can polish it, but it's a load of hassle to try and do. So this is my piece of wire that I've got here, and I'm going to show you a technique to make this wire dead straight. This particular technique does involve you sacrificing a little bit of metal on both ends, unfortunately. It's never wasted because I would always save the offcuts, because we can use that when we do some cuttlefish casting, delft clay casting, or even just simply want to melt them up into little balls to add embellishments to some bales or some rings or pendants or anything like that. So the idea is that you need to get the wire really as straight as you possibly can. I've just unrolled this into a wire that is fairly straight, but not perfectly straight. Now we do need to use a really good pair of pliers and a nice sturdy vise that is securely fastened to your bench, and ideally that bench should be also fastened to a wall, for instance, or to the floor, because this vise must not move. I don't have one here in this studio, I've got it in my front studio, so that's where we're going to go now. This is the vise that we've got in our front studio. It's a nice 4-inch engineering type of vise, and we're going to remove the jaw covers because we are not in the market to protect the wire. We want to make sure the wire gets a good hold upon inside the jaws here. Good pair of pliers. I've got a pair of mole grips. These are the lock-in pliers. When you squeeze the handle, the jaws lock, an ideal type of plier. Or you can also use a pair of draw tongs that I've got here. So when you pull it, you apply pressure on either side here, which basically forces the jaws closer to pull. And the idea is that's all we're going to do. We're going to pull the wire. We want to make sure the wire doesn't move. And what's going to happen, because this is nicely annealed, all the molecules now are all nice and soft. We're going to put about 5, 8, 10 millimeters into the vise here. Don't clamp it too tight, otherwise you're going to crush the end of the wire and it's going to snap. We can get our pliers, we can hold on to the end of the wire with our pliers, like that. And what you want to do, I'll explain, is that you want to pull the wire. You can do this very quickly and give it a sharp tug. You can turn the wire at 90 degrees to the vise to give it a good tug, so you can make sure that the wire doesn't come out of the jaws of the vise if the vise jaw is a little bit on the smooth side. You can do this quickly, and what's going to happen is that when you pull the wire, a very quick, short, sharp pull will quickly stretch the wire, and stretching it will make it perfectly straight. I like to give it a nice gentle tug, and what I'm going to do is hold on to the end here, and I'm going to basically brace myself. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other, and I'm going to pull the wire. And what's going to happen is that wire is going to want to resist you pulling it until it can resist no more, and it'll just go, oh. And it'll just relax and go, ugh. And as soon as it does that, it doesn't make a noise, but you can imagine if you were a bit of wire and you're being pulled, you're going to resist, and then suddenly you can't resist anymore, and you relax for a second, and at that moment you will feel the wire just elongate. It'll just lengthen a fraction, and as it lengthens, it pulls all the molecules perfectly straight, and that wire will be die straight. Obviously, we can't use the end or the beginning of the wire because we've damaged it, because we've clamped it, but what you've got in between should be a perfectly straight piece of metal. Fingers crossed, here goes. Bracing myself, I got 1 foot in front, 1 foot behind, because if this wire happens to snap, you don't want to go flying backwards. So always make sure that you've got some space behind you, not like what I have behind me here. So clamp them into our pliers here. Brace, we're going to make sure that this doesn't get pulled off the wall. We're going to hold on to it, and as we pull, this is 1.5 millimeter wire, I wouldn't go any thicker than that. And as we pull, just making sure my back doesn't go flying into the back of the kiln here. And as we pull, the wire will just go, ready? Here we go. You're not going to see much. You're not going to hear anything. All you're going to find is that when I release the pliers, the wire will be perfectly straight. Here we go. There we go. Okay. The wire went a bit. And as you can see now, we have got a piece of wire excuse me, that is perfectly straight. As I can show you there now, that is the wire. As you can see, the end's a bit squashed, but the wire is perfectly die straight, absolutely gorgeously straight. So that's a very quick film on how to straighten a piece of wire. Sounds so simple, but you'll never ever get it straight by hammering it or rolling it or anything like that. You need to pull it, you need to stretch it. This was 1.5 millimeter in diameter. It'd be very hard to go any thicker than that. Thinner, not a problem, but you'd have to be careful you don't snap it. So that's a beautifully straight piece of wire. My name is Andrew Berry for At The Bench's YouTube channel, and don't forget, please, if you haven't done already, I'd love you to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you like this film, share it with your friends, and don't forget, love you to leave a comment down below. Hope to see you in the next film. Take care. Bye for now.